Michigan Wolverines return to action and return to the big house this Saturday as we welcome into our house Anthony Bellino. You see him every morning here on BCSN with the X's and Bros show. And Anthony, what is that shirt you're wearing?
The Cleveland Gladiators, Mark. I worked one game in the Arena Football League. I think that's what we were calling it then, for the Cleveland Gladiators. You know what they gave me? They gave me a shirt. I drove 2 hours for a shirt, worked for a few hours, and drove home. It was awesome. But yeah, I'm all in on the Gladiators bandwagon. The Browns might need some help. Sign some guys off the Gladiators team. What a disappointment for Cleveland fans on Sunday. I know we're here to talk Michigan, but that was rough.
Wow, so a Detroit Lions fan is giving shade to the Browns. That's what we've reached at this point in the NFL season.
Well, look, Mark, if we're going to go this route, we might as well. The expectation was severely low for the Detroit Lions, a full-blown rebuild. They've taken on more dead money than they ever have. People keep saying, well, how many years are you going to rebuild? How many years have they ever done this where they acquire a guy like Rashad Perriman to be the fix at wide receiver, and then they cut him before the first game of the regular season when the organization realized, the front office said, look, that's not going to be our guy. We're not going to get beat twice on the same free agent acquisition. The Lions weren't expected to do anything. In fact, they've been competitive in just about every game except for against Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and the LSU Tigers of Cincinnati on Sunday. Outside of that, they've been competitive. They're playing hard. The entire squad is injured. Like when you have an all-pro caliber center and Frank Ragnow and a Pro Bowl left tackle and Taylor Decker, and you're trying to start a rookie in Penei Sewell, and 2 out of those 3 guys have been on injured reserve, it's not looking good. A completely rebuilt defense. A lot of youngsters on that team that are getting their reps. And you got Jeff Okudah down with an Achilles. Fate Melanfanu, one of their picks from last year's draft, he's down as well with injuries. It's just, this, they are who we thought they were. But if you're a Browns fan, your expectation being as high as it was, sorry, Cleveland. Kareem Hunt with the calf injury. That's not good. It's not looking good right now. Cleveland, what are we doing?
Browns, a lot of guys banged up. They got that quick turnaround this week. Let's talk college football. Michigan Wolverines, we thought last week the week off came at a good time to help them arrest some nagging injuries type situations. Jim Harbaugh wouldn't go into detail today, but did say guys are progressing as they are hosting Northwestern on this Saturday.
Yeah, the bye week came at a really good time. I do like the fact that it was conveniently scheduled there to break up the first half and the second half of the season. As we know, the second half of the season is going to present its own, slate of challenges, if you will. Looking first at Northwestern, everybody wants to keep looking ahead. Everybody just pump the brakes. You got to make it through this weekend first. Not like I would ever try to disrespect what Pat Fitzgerald has going on at Northwestern. They are not a very good football team this year. Their wins are against 2, Indiana State, Ohio University, but they did beat Rutgers 21-7. So that gave them a conference win after getting their doors blown off on the road at Nebraska 56-7. That was a terrible showing by the Wildcats. This is a club that, for whatever reason, it just kind of feels, Mark, that Northwestern will be good 1 year and then they take 2 years off. I don't know why that is. I can't quite put my finger on it. I'm sure it's driving Coach Fitzgerald and company over there at Northwestern crazy as well. But it's a team that Michigan can't overlook. You can't start getting excited about Penn State or Michigan State or Ohio State or however many games may be left on the schedule after a run to a college football playoff and national championship. But you can't look at all that right now. You got to look and you got to focus in on Northwestern. But very happy with the way that the bye was scheduled out. I think that if you talk to any college coach across the country, where that bye is placed is very important. You remember a couple of years ago, Toledo, our beloved Rockets, they had a bye in like week 2 or week 3 of the season. And then it's just such a long stretch, a great opportunity to get this Michigan defense a little bit healthier, get their offense a little bit healthier, and another week to continue to work on things, as I think we've seen Michigan progressively get a little bit better each week. I think you can look south to Columbus and see that Ohio State has gotten a lot better since that Oregon game. They've really come out with their hair on fire. And I think that that's what you're looking for in college football teams, especially teams like Michigan, who, Phil Steele had ranked in the mid-50s going into this year. They were right there with some teams in the MAC. We didn't really know what the expectation was. Some people thought 8-4, some people thought 7-5. Get a little bit better each week, tackle each challenge, each individual week, and continue to improve. And I think we've really seen that in the way that Michigan has handled their passing offense. It was non-existent the first couple of weeks. It's getting progressively better week by week, and that's what you want to see.
You mentioned Northwestern coming off that win over Rutgers. Pat Fitzgerald said Michigan is the best team they're going to play to this point in the season, which our friends in East Lansing will raise their eyebrows to, considering East Lansing, Michigan State beat Northwestern earlier this season. So Fitz is saying Michigan is better than Michigan State. But as you mentioned, this is a dangerous Northwestern team and a well-rested Michigan team that's hoping they're not rusted after that week off.
Yeah, and I don't really think that they will be. And Pat Fitzgerald just called like you see it. I don't think that he meant to throw any shade. Obviously, Michigan State fans. I mean, but look at it. Like Michigan didn't play anybody and moved up in the AP top 25 poll. I mean, these things, it just happens. It was a rough bye week, and we made it through and we jumped up in the poll. So that's always a positive. Well, but all jokes aside, it is a Northwestern team that's trying to build a little bit of momentum. But I think the biggest problem for Northwestern is they haven't been able to string anything together. They sit at an even 500, 3-3. In their wins, like I said, Ohio, Indiana State, nothing to really write home about. Rutgers, on the other hand, I think you could feel good about that. Look at the way that Rutgers played Michigan in their second half. But they haven't been able to string 2 consecutive weeks together. They started the season with a loss, came back with a win, loss, win, loss, win. You know what I mean? So they're trying to find a way to carry over from one week into the next, but it just doesn't get any easier with the way that their schedule is fixed. It could be back and forth and kind of lopsided all year long. There isn't, however, really anybody on Northwestern, just speaking openly here, Michigan should win this football game. And this should be a game in which Michigan can once again work on some things during the game, if you know what I mean. I think with the way that Michigan had played at Nebraska, with Blake Corum and Hassan Haskins both going, I think Hassan finished with maybe 123 yards and Blake Corum was somewhere in the 80-yard mark. Nobody has rushed against Nebraska that well this season. Not even Kenneth Walker III, who was putting together quite a little bit of a resume there for a Heisman run from Michigan State. And I think that this is that game where you had a tough one against Nebraska on the road. Can you get back to feeling really confident and get some things working? Now, you don't want to show too much on film, but at the same time, you want to be able to kind of, work your way around. And I think you want to see your defense have a lot of success. Ryan Helinski isn't anything, too crazy to write home about. He's completing less than 60% of his passes. They've worked in Hunter Johnson, who's thrown the football a lot as well. So my old theory, if you have 2 quarterbacks, you have none, right? There's like this old saying, and like the military, if you have 2, you have 1. If you have 1, you have none. Well, in football, I think it's the opposite. If you have 2, you don't have any. It should be a clear-cut number 1 at quarterback. I don't think you want to be rotating guys in there. I think it throws things a little bit out of sync. Northwestern does feature 3 running backs that have crossed the 200-yard mark so far this season, but I look for Michigan's defense to really put it on Nebraska in a really good game for them to really kind of tone in on some things that they might try, not necessarily put things on film, but schematically. What works, what doesn't work, what did we have a lot of success with, what will we show, what won't we show, or will they completely go against what I'm thinking and just go straight vanilla playbook the entire way and not show a single thing that they haven't shown already? I think that's the kind of the chess match with the game within the game in preparation for what takes place in East Lansing the following week.
Every football team wants to get better week by week by week, and we know Michigan used this week off to try to get better in terms of health, try to get better in terms of self-scouting, finding some weaknesses, and also try to get better in the future with some in-season recruiting. We know Michigan made a trip down to Findlay to take a look at Luke Montgomery this week, and whether or not they get Luke Montgomery isn't the story at this point, because there's a lot of people in on Luke Montgomery. I think the bigger story is the fact that Michigan is finally paying attention to Ohio high school football again. That has been a sore spot the last couple of years. We know historically when Michigan has recruited Ohio, they have recruited well. For whatever reason, they haven't necessarily made some inroads in Ohio the last few years. It looks like they're trying to rectify that in the upcoming classes.
Well, Mark, you are the professional here, so I'll let you be respectful and say for whatever reason. I'll call it what it is. Don Brown, that's why. They kept going to the East Coast. They were going to places like Connecticut. Connecticut doesn't care about football. You can't go to Connecticut to recruit to play in the Big Ten. That's not going to work. You get outside of New Jersey, there really isn't a whole lot there for you. At the end of the day, college football comes down to the 5 major states, right? It's Florida, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Texas, California. You have, no matter where the population shifts are at, it always seems those kids from those 5 states continue to be sort of the benchmark, if you will, in recruiting. And you're absolutely right. When Michigan's really good, they're coming down to Ohio, and I say it all the time, and I have no problem saying it. High school football in Ohio is different than it is in Michigan. It is taken a lot more seriously. Not, no disrespect to the coaches and whatnot who are taking their job, but from a fans and interest level, it's just different in Ohio. I've witnessed it firsthand. I'm from the state of Michigan. I now work in Ohio. Like it's blatantly obvious to somebody like me the way that people are invested in the high school football game. It's just different down here. Michigan has had success. Our Heisman winner from Fremont Ross, Little Giants, has got a statue. It's kind of a big deal. They call him Chuck. I like to call him Mr. Woodson, Sir Charles. You can call him whatever you wanted to. But Michigan, when they recruit Ohio well, just like any other team, when they recruit Ohio well, this is a hotbed for football. And there are some kids in the state of Ohio that, for whatever reason, choose Michigan over Ohio State, whether it's roster competition spots, or they want to play a little bit earlier, or they had a family member, a parent, whatever the case may be. Whatever draws them out of state, I think any top level recruit, 4 or 5 star that you can pull from the state of Ohio is a massive win for your program, just because the way that high school football players are bred in the state, it's just different.
And of course, Desmond Howard, the second Michigan Heisman Trophy winner, also from Ohio, a Cleveland guy who decided to go north and east and take home the trophy, and also ruined the Heisman Trophy celebration because he put the foot up. Both feet are on the ground on this trophy, but that's a conversation for a whole other topic. So Michigan, Northwestern, coming off that bye week, how concerned are you about the focus of the Michigan team, or is focus hasn't been an issue for this team so far this year, so it shouldn't be an issue on Saturday?
I don't think it's an issue on Saturday. I honestly don't. I would much rather have Michigan's problems of worrying about Northwestern than what's going on at maybe some other campuses a little bit north, where they're like, hey, our head coach is being rumored to take another job. It's like, hey, welcome to our world, where, Juwan Howard being rumored for the LSU coaching job for football. That's a joke, by the way. I think that they're going to be all dialed in on Northwestern. I think that this game is too important for their long-term goals. I really do. And I think that when you approach the season like that, because in the world of college football, let's be honest, you lose one game, your season can be over, especially if it's not a quote unquote good loss. Like if you lost to Ohio State, people might look at that and say, yeah, that's a top tier program. That's a decent loss. It's okay as long as you don't get shelled by 60 points. You lose to a team like Northwestern, your season is done. Like it's over. So I think that sort of level of pressure and expectation that just remains on these kids for even choosing to go to school and play football at Michigan. There's an expectation there, albeit overinflated based on the production on the field. There is an expectation of excellence there for whatever the case may be. And I really think that if you're going into Michigan, Northwestern, thinking about anything else than the Wildcats, I think you're in for a rude awakening. I will say, when it comes to this football game, it is nice coming off the bye week, being able to stay at home, not having to travel. I think that's a huge benefit that this game is in Ann Arbor. You get the home crowd, also a noon kickoff. And we saw that next week's kick against State will be a noon kick as well. And I think that adds a little bit of an element of consistency within the scheduling, something that coaches also like to talk a lot about. Football players, athletes, coaches, especially at this level, but at any level, are usually creatures of habit, right? They want to get in, they want to be able to establish their routine. This gives them back-to-back weeks with a pretty stable routine, right? They had the bye week. You can kind of almost simulate what a game week would look like outside of actually playing the game. You get to stay right at home, welcome in Northwestern before you obviously approach the next week. But I think the back-to-back noon kickoffs work in Michigan's favor as well.
All right, thank you very much, Anthony Bellino. You see him every morning right here on BCSN with the X's and Bros radio show. Anthony, thank you.
Thank you very much, and shout out to the Cleveland Gladiators.